Okay, this evening we're in a very, very special place. I'm in the midst of history, I call it, because Annagh magazine seems to have gone on forever, and we're going to get to the background of it as we go along tonight, but to me it feels like it'll be going on forever and ever. And there's very few magazines or issues that come out every year and continue to be as interesting and as informative and as popular, not only in Ballyhaunis, Mayo, Ireland, but all over the world. People are just waiting for this first week in December, whenever it's due to come out, and can't get their hands on it, and they get annoyed if they miss the boat by a day, or even if it comes out on a Friday and they don't get to the following week. There's a bit of re-raw about, I should have got it Friday. I'm sure that's an issue for the people distributing the magazine as well. But we're here in the communal house at Clare Court this evening, and I'm in the company of most of the committee of Annagh magazine. And just to start off, I'll introduce you to Mulrennan, Tommy Caulfield, Mike Griffin, Seamus Mulrennan, Eddie Mulhern, Gabriel Smith, Paul Waldron, and John Kinduff. In ways, I feel like one of the readings during the week with Father Stephen was about Jesus selecting the 12 apostles. So there's a few missing tonight, but anyway, we're going to have a word with some of them, but we'll just let you have a look at the cast, or the 8 or 9 of the apostles so far.
Good evening, Martin, and welcome to our Annagh Magazine Society gathering here this evening. As chairman, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here, and this is my 3rd year as chairman. I want to thank my wonderful committee here for giving me the privilege of being chairman for a 3rd year in a row. I am very lucky to have such a wonderful committee working with me. They all have their own niches that they fit into. Firstly, I'd like to say, unfortunately, Nell Watchford is not with us here tonight. She's a very valued member of our committee and a member of our editorial committee. But we would like to thank each and every member of the committee, because a lot of hard work and long hours go into producing the magazine that comes out in December of every year. We would like to thank all the contributors who come up with new articles every year and unseen photographs. Every year we wonder about getting new articles and new photos, and at the end of the day, normally we have to leave some material out, unfortunately. With regards to our shops, who are vital to us in the sales of our magazine, because that's another little piece under my belt. I look after sales and marketing. I want to thank the shops for all the wonderful help they give us every year in the sale of the magazine. Without them, our magazine wouldn't be nearly successful in our sales. We also want to thank Father Stephen and Father Brendan McGuinness for all the help they give us with the lists of weddings every year, so that we can follow up on each of the weddings that happen in the 2 parishes. With regards to the magazine itself, it's a very costly magazine to produce, and we are indebted to all the patrons out there, especially the businesses that every year come up trumps and contribute to supporting us financially.
Good evening. The first thing I'd like to say is to thank Martin and Adam for asking us here tonight, and to congratulate them on their initiative in producing these videos, which are to document Ballyhaunis and the parish of Annagh at the present moment in time. I'm involved with the Annagh magazine since 1991, and in the early years I had the privilege of working with a lot of the founder members of Annagh magazine, and so I have some information on how the magazine started 43 years ago. First of all, we have to go back a number of other years, back to 1970, when Canon McGarry, who was the parish priest at the time, he decided that it would be a good idea to have a local publication, and he got people from the different townlands in the parish involved in producing what he called the Ballyhaunis newsletter. And this was published quarterly from 1970 until 1973, and that's one of the earlier issues there. It was reproduced on a some sort of a duplicating machine. Quite straightforward, but very informative and a very historic document. Now, the very last issue was for Christmas 1973, and you can see the things that got a bit more sophisticated. There were photographs, and it was on nice glossy paper. But after 1973, then it kind of it fell into abeyance, and in 1977, the Junior Chamber decided that it would be a good idea to start up a magazine about the parish and about the town of Ballyhaunis. And so the magazine was formed, as far as I know, in the Central Hotel, and the first issue was published at Christmas 1978, and I have it here. It's probably a collector's item now. It ran to something like 45 pages, and it sold for 80 pence, as far as we know, and there were 900 copies sold at that time. From 1978 until 1986, the magazine was produced by the Junior Chamber, and it kept growing in size and in content through those years. And when the Junior Chamber finally died down or died away in 1985 or 86, the Annagh Magazine Society was formed, and the magazine has been produced by the Annagh Magazine Society ever since. Now, just to go through a few milestones in the history, rather than keeping you here all night. In 1986, which was the first year that the magazine was produced by the Annagh Magazine Society, we went to the A4 size from this original size. It had the first colour cover. The advertisements, which had been a feature of the earlier issues, was replaced by a patrons list, and our new printers were the Western People in Ballyhaunis. The first issues were printed by Cashins in Castlebar. In 1992, we went to perfect binding, which is not the A3 sheet folded over and stapled in the middle, but where it's glued along the spine, and it allowed us to produce a bigger magazine. For the first time it went over 100 pages was in 1995, and then in 1997 we moved to Knock Printing Services, just out the road here, and we've been with them ever since, and we find them very good. Moving into the area of technology, then in 2001 we got our first email address, and in 2002 the original Annagh website was set up, but that was reconfigured in 2014. In 2005 was the first time that we had a full colour magazine inside and out, and in 2010 the current website was launched. The most interesting part of which probably is the collection of the back issues which we had digitized in Dublin, so they're available for people to download. And then we had our 40th issue in 2017. Now all of the back issues, all 43 back issues, well, certainly 41 anyway, the other two have to be added to our website, but they're all accessible online, free, and also in the local libraries. And just to give you an idea of what we've covered, other people will talk about the content of the magazines, but just for a few interesting statistics would be that in the 43 issues we've published 7,688 photographs of all kinds, including 912 wedding photographs, and it runs to a total of 5,058 pages with 2,692 articles and reports. So really, I suppose over the 43 years it's a fairly good resource and a chronicle of the history of the parish of Annagh firstly and the town of Ballyhaunis. And I think that's about all I can say at the moment. So thanks very much.
We're now with Tommy Caulfield. Tommy wears lots of hats around this town, and this evening he has his Annagh magazine hat on. It just has a matter of interest. Have you one of these high-paying positions in the group, or what's your?
No, I haven't achieved that status yet. I'm, I suppose, a novice when I look around here. I'm only involved for the past 2 years on the committee, although I have been writing articles for the magazine for more years than I care to remember.
Okay.
But I'm not one of the highly paid members yet.
Just a thought that crossed my mind there the last few minutes would say, the material you get, what's the source of it? Is it just kind of landed in? Or I suppose the other thing I'm asking is if somebody has material, how do they get it in? Or would say, where do you accumulate all the information from?
Yeah, I suppose there is a formula, and it's a proven success formula at this stage. I mean, the magazine is, as you mentioned earlier, so successful, and people look forward to it both locally and around the country and around the world. It includes photographs, modern day photographs, and of course older photographs that people love. We're always on the lookout for those. Articles of interest, people who lived in the town, people who moved into the town, reports from all of the various clubs and organisations, the voluntary clubs. So we contact the PRO. The parish newsletter is a great source of advertising for us. And if you keep an eye out in the parish newsletter, you get all the information. I suppose nowadays we live in the age of information, communication and technology, all that kind of stuff. So the best way probably to contact us is by email, info@annagh.ie. But definitely we're always on the lookout for new material, and if anybody would like to write an article, send it in to us. If you have any photograph of interest, we'd love to get our hands on it, and we'd look after it well for you.
The other thing that crossed my mind, like a fantastic group of people, and I know what's in a household of 4, we have fallouts and tangles and everything else, like the group here is a bit bigger. Do you ever kind of have the sticks out? Or
well, we have our moments, but I think Noreen said that we were a family. One big happy family. Everybody has their strengths, and I suppose we wouldn't be doing it unless we enjoy doing it. For me, it's a labour of love. It's something that I'm interested in the town as it is today, and as it was in the past, and as it will be in the future. So I think we generally get on pretty well.
You know, when people dread going to meetings, I'd imagine when you come into an magazine meeting, instead of dreading this another freaking meeting at 8:00, that you're actually probably looking forward to going down and meeting the gang. And
I think you're right there. Yeah, most people dread those meetings, but the atmosphere is so relaxed and informal. But yet, as Noreen said as well, we get the work done. You know, we have our monthly meetings. Here we are in September. I suppose the meetings will become more frequent, and we'll all be sent away by Seamus with our jobs to do, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and hopefully all the work will be done. You know, contacting the printers and following up on stories and reports. But everybody pulls their weight. Yeah.
I think it's incredible the mix of stuff that's in it. Like there's a bit of comedy, a bit of reality, a bit of history, a bit of modern, it's incredible what.
Yeah, there's a nice balance, and I suppose that's our job to try and ensure that we strike that correct balance. Stories from the past. Some people like to see old photographs. Some people are more interested in what's going on in the town at the moment. So that's part of our job as well. As an editorial committee, we have to sift through all of the material and strike that balance and come up with what people obviously like. Yeah.
And of course, the profile of the town has changed substantially since it was a different town back in 1977 or whenever 77 it started, wasn't it, Paul? Yeah. And it's a different town now.
I suppose that's the only constant in life is change, and certainly Ballyhaunis, like every place else, has changed, probably more so than most other towns. It's a well-known phrase. It's almost a cliche at this stage that we're the most ethnically diverse community in the country, and I suppose part of the job of Annagh magazine is to reflect the town as it is today, not just as it was. And again, that's part of the balance that I spoke about. Yeah. And
I suppose go back to when you talk about change, when you see the first issue that Paul had there in his hand a while ago, Annagh magazine have managed to embrace that change. It has, yeah. Paul actually mentioned, I think, that it ran to about 40 pages or something, 45, 44 pages. Last year, believe it or not, in spite of all the difficulties,
Our magazine was over 200 pages, the biggest edition ever. So in spite of all the obstacles in our way and lockdown and so on, the magazine has grown from strength to strength, and long may that continue. But as I say, it's easy. We have a great group, a great core group, a great editorial committee, and everybody, it's a labour of love. So we enjoy coming along to the meetings, and everybody plays his and her part.
Okay, well, excellent, Tom. Look at, I think that's it for Tom. Appreciate everybody's work, and Tom is one of those, and I hope we all keep up to the work.
Thanks very much, Tom. Great stuff. Thank you.
So thanks, Tom, and we'll move on around to another apostle, and this is one of the earlier 12, I think. Eddie Mulrennan here with me at the moment. Eddie, how long were you involved in the Annagh magazine at this stage?
About 6 or 7 years in with them.
6 or 7?
I'm not one of the originals.
Okay, I thought you were longer than that.
No, I'm not, no.
Okay. And how have you gelled in with the group since you came?
I agree with them, all right, yeah. No problem. We're okay.
You don't be stirring up fights or anything like that? Or?
Well, I saw the pot all right.
Yeah.
As of yes, I haven't caused any trouble, I think.
And would you be one of those that would say if the meeting's 8 o'clock this evening, you'd be kind of looking forward to coming down to it? And,
I look forward to it, yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy coming to meetings and have an input into it.
Okay.
It's a nice group and we're very social.
Excellent. So
I have the time to put into it at the moment.
yeah, that's time is the thing. We need to dedicate time.
Yeah.
And would say what's your main what would say is Seamus the guy that's given the teacher that's given out all the homework like?
He is, yeah.
And
He keeps under some.
what's your homework?
Well, one of my things is the postal side of it. We post to all over the world really, and it's very popular with people who immigrated. It keeps them in touch with the local scene, and we send quite a few. We send to UK, to Ireland as well, but we post to the UK, to USA, Canada, Europe, Australia, and Japan. They're one of our nieces. Yeah. So,
I'm sorry now to interrupt you, but would say numerically, have you any idea, round figure, would say for example, where's the biggest
well, the UK and the USA were the biggest, yeah.
and you've no idea on the top of your head, I know that, I'm sorry for asking a question I'm not prepared for, but I mean, how many would go to UK?
I couldn't say how many go to UK, maybe 20 or so.
Yeah.
Last year we sent out almost 100, which was extra. We were extra busy last year with the postal sale because of COVID. Quite a few went to Ireland, where they couldn't come and pick them up in town here.
That was a big factor actually last year,
It was, yeah.
more than I realised that way, but even people in Ireland and Cork couldn't come up
That's
and
right, yeah.
weren't allowed to travel.
Emails and listen about them.
And it was probably a very important issue as well for that reason, that people were able to keep in touch with what was happening, even if they weren't here.
It was, yeah.
Okay. So if somebody, for example, is in Australia today and they want a copy of it, can they contact?
Yeah, if they email us at info@annagh.ie, we'll give them a price and we'll send it to
Okay.
and a check to us. It costs to Australia, it costs 53 Australian dollars. That includes, it seems a lot, that includes postage and packaging.
How much?
53 Australian dollars.
Okay. For the whole lot, both?
Yeah, that includes a lot.
Okay.
Ireland is 19 euros.
Okay.
The USA is 35 American dollars. Europe is 23 euros, and the UK is 23 sterling.
Okay. So you have it all covered. Yeah. And sorry, no, you might be prepared for this, but would say, do you take payment online as well?
No, it's not. A check is normal.
Okay.
What we get.
Okay.
We haven't gone online.
Okay, well I suppose with all the changes that I have come up with already, I suppose that'll be the next one of the next steps. Okay. So I suppose going back to Seamus as the headmaster again, like does he keep you on your toes?
He keeps an eye on us, all right, yeah.
Yeah. And was he harder than the previous chairpersons?
He can be torn enough.
I suppose the answer is in the question. If you've renewed his contract for continually. You must be getting on okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you're very context, right?
So look at Eddie, thank you very much for this, and
Thanks, Chairman.
good luck with it this year.
Thank you very
I hope
much.
it's as successful as it ever was, and for many years to come. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here with Mike Griffin. We're still here with the members of the Annagh Magazine Committee, and before I talk to Mike, I just want to say that for as long as I'm involved in anything in town, Mike has been there as willing and able and bending backwards to do anything he possibly can to promote the town. Anytime you ever meet him, he's talking. I never heard him saying a negative word about the town or giving out about it. And all he ever said to me in my time was, "How can I help?" So before I ever spoke to Mike, I want to make sure that goes out, because you're one of the best servants and promoters of this town that I've met in my lifetime.
Thank you.
So, with that in mind, how long were you involved in Annagh Magazine?
Well, I will tell you a story now. My mother was
Scale.
My mother was involved with a teacher all her life, and when she retired, she joined Annagh Magazine, and she was with the Annagh Magazine Society for many years. She held both the post of chairperson and treasurer. And on her passing in 2013, I was encouraged to join. So I went to my first meeting in the Abbey House in September. Now, for the first while, I couldn't really do an awful lot because I didn't know what I was doing. But I helped with the distribution. So the following year, I was asked to help in gathering patron subscriptions. So I started doing that. And in the process of doing that, I brought in many new patrons. And I had a lot of friends in Knock at the time, and I approached them and they agreed. So I brought in many new investors, you might say. And that went on for many years. Then, as we held the meetings in the Abbey, things started to change a bit. So I offered them the room at the parochial hall, now known as the community hall. And we have held meetings there for the last couple of years, and thankfully the members, my friends, they all seemed quite happy there. And I just do my own thing. I'm not into social media at all. I don't even have an email address, so I'm not into that kind of thing. So I just do what I'm kind of good at. And I'm good at chasing after people for money, and I'm good at distribution. So as I said, I brought in many new patrons into our society, and when it comes to the time of distribution, I distribute a lot of them. And I'm quite happy at that job, and that's the way I am to this present day.
Okay, well, I suppose the one thing you put your finger on there is what was mentioned earlier on, that everybody brings their own expertise to the group.
Indeed.
And what you're doing, somebody else might not be comfortable with. And I can speak from personal experience that every year Mike gives me a nod, kind of, it's due. And
yes.
it just happens. I give him the few pound, and the magazine appears as soon as it's out.
Yes.
And there's no hassle and there's no uncomfortableness or anything like that.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be nice and friendly. It's nice to be able to approach people. And I must say, everyone that I approach always gives me a favourable response. Nobody has ever said to me to get lost or I don't want it. They've always been very favourable in their response, very courteous to me as I am to them. And thankfully, everything works out okay.
Exactly. Well, look at. I can assure you that you've continued the same level of service to Annagh Magazine as to many other organisations. And anything that's ever went on in the town, first thing Mike will always say, more as I'm there, anything I can do if I can help. I
help out, especially with traffic. I'm a wizard of traffic. Whenever there's a traffic problem, even at a funeral, I kind of solve it. And when we have festivals, I work with the traffic and I help to sort out the traffic. And that's what I'm good at, and I enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, look at Mike, compliments to you all around.
Thank you very much.
And like everybody else in the room tonight, you specialise in your own things, and you do them, and you do it nice and discreetly and quietly, and nobody knows it's happening, and it just gets done.
Yes.
And that's how it works.
And God bless us all in our functions.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. So look at, that's Mike Griffin, and we're nearly ready to wind it up. We're going to end up talking to the chairman again just to see things out. Okay, so we've come to the I suppose the winding up of this interview this evening. I have to say we had a lovely evening here in the communal house with it's like Tommy mentioned earlier on, it's like being in a family now. I know all these people all my life, but besides that, there's just a lovely warm feeling, and I can imagine well why people would like to be part of this committee. And I suppose, to finish things up, Seamus, I'll ask you a question which you weren't prepared for, but if there was somebody out there at the minute and they are impressed with the Annagh magazine and they feel they've something that they contribute to it, are they welcome to come along? Is there an application process, or is there an interview process?
Well, I can assure you they'll be more than welcome. We'd be delighted to have new members, and we're trying all the time looking for new members. We'd love to encourage a few more younger members to join us as well, because they could bring something different. Since Noreen and Tommy have joined us, things have lightened up a little bit. In fact, new blood makes an awful difference. If we
it's a bit like Oisin Mulrennan and these fella coming into the Mayo team, like
That's right.
turning up the old books.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and some of us would gladly step aside a little bit and give them a little bit of room if they'd be glad to come in and join us, because we would need them. But there was one person who I didn't mention early on, and he's one of the most valuable people to them. He's a long time involved, and that's our president, Joe Kane. Joe has been such a valuable member of the committee over the years, and we were lucky that Joe has given so many years to the Annagh magazine, and he was great for the history. He had a wonderful mind and a wonderful knowledge of history, and we always relied on Joe to get the information, and even with regards to naming photos and that locally in the town, people that we wouldn't be able to come up with the names, Joe was always able to do so. So Joe is still a very, very valuable member, and he's still the president of our society.
And was Joe one of the original members?
No, he wouldn't be back in the very beginning. No, he wouldn't have been. Jim London, who is no longer with us, has retired gracefully now from us, but Jim was one of the very first members back, and he was with us right through up till about 2 years ago.
And sorry not to interrupt there, but was Jim would only have come to Ballyhaunis around that time, isn't that right?
That would be right, yes. That would be the time. I think Jim really joined nearly straight away after coming to Ballyhaunis, and he gave a lot of service to the Annagh magazine. In matter of fact, in roles of chairman and editors, in matter of fact, really and truly, we were indebted to him for all the amount of time he gave to us as well. But the other one too, I don't want to leave without mentioning, would be Sinead Malee, our graphic designer. She's a brilliant help to us every year, and puts a lot of work and a lot of effort into the Annagh magazine. And also then Brendan Salmon and all his wonderful staff in Knock Print. They produce a fabulous magazine for us at the end of every year, and it has lived to tell the tale. I mean, the quality of the magazine. But just finally, before I finish up, I just want our loyal patrons who have gone through a very tough year in business, year and a half in business, and just as a gesture of thanks to them, this year we won't be collecting any money off our patrons. So they have one free year, but the names and the addresses and their businesses and everything will appear as every other year in the 2021 edition. So we just want to thank them once again for all the help and they've given us over the years. But we will be back again in 2022 looking for money off you again. So
Mike will be on the rampage.
Mike will be on the rampage. See Mike coming. Look out.
So look at wonderful evening here in Munster, the committee of Annagh magazine. Again, they're a voluntary organisation. Serious amount of time put into this, thought, energy, dissecting pictures and stories and segregating stuff for this year and next year and everything else. Wonderful group of people. Again, another prime example of all the volunteerism that keeps rural towns like Ballyhaunis on the map and on the road. So look, support them if you can. And again, out there, if there's anybody who feels they've anything they could contribute in the form of stories or in the form of help, there's no help will be refused. And again, Seamus mentioned earlier on, they're looking for younger people, and there's lots of young couples in town at the minute that maybe have new ideas and maybe access to IT familiarity more than some of the elder lemons here. And you know, that kind of input would probably be welcomed.
Be very welcome.
So look at, thanks to all of you coming out here this evening. Hope you enjoyed the interview, and I'm sure everybody will enjoy watching it, and we look forward to many more issues of Annagh magazine.
A big thank you to Martin and Adam for giving us the time here this evening and spending so much time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.